Today we are going to learn how to make an authentic asado from Argentina. And if you are watching this video from another country, be sure to stay until the end of the video, because at the end I will show you how to adapt the recipe for your own country. So let's start with the recipe. To make an asado, you need a barbecue grill or parrilla in Spanish. If you don't have an outdoor grill, you can use a grill pan on your stove. Now, some tips about the grill. There are two types of grills, those with a flat surface and those with a grate. You can see that this one has a grate and it's made out of metal bars. But there are also grills that are made out of concrete or brick, and in some cases they have a dome like a barbecue grill. In Argentina, these grills are very big. This is a small one. I would say this is a baby grill. The bigger ones can measure up to 2 meters long. The bigger the grill, the more meat you can cook at the same time and the more people you can serve. Okay, now that we have our grill ready, we can start putting the ingredients on the grill. Let's put the wood for this recipe. We are going to use two types of wood, one to smoke the meat and another one to keep the heat going. The best wood to smoke meat is called quebracho wood in Spanish. It's very hard to find outside of South America. So if you can't find quebracho wood, then you can use apple wood or hickory wood. You can also use other types of wood like oak, but try to avoid softwoods like pine or fir trees, because their sap can drip onto the meat while it's cooking and it can make the meat taste bitter. While the wood is getting ready, let's prepare the meat. We are going to make two different types of asado, one with beef and the other one with pork. These cuts of meat are called asado de tierra, which means brothy cut of meat in Spanish. These cuts of meat have a lot of connective tissue, so they are perfect for slow cooking. If you don't want to chew for 1 hour, then these cuts are perfect for you. The other cut of meat that we are going to cook today is called in Spanish, which means empty in English. But trust me, there's nothing empty about this cut of meat. It is a big, thick piece of meat that is perfect for slicing and serving with a nice chimichurri sauce on top. Let's get back to the grill. The wood is burning really well now, so we can start putting the meat. Here comes an important tip. Never put the meat directly onto the fire. Always put it on a tray or a rack. That way you can flip the meat easily without burning it. Also, the space between the meat and the fire helps the meat to cook evenly. Now, let's talk about how long we need to cook the meat. It all depends on the cut of meat and the thickness of the cut. If you're cooking thinner pieces of meat, then they will cook faster than thicker pieces of meat. A good rule of thumb is to cook the meat until it reaches an internal temperature of 71 degrees Celsius. If you want the meat to be medium cooked, then you can take it off the grill when it reaches 71 degrees Celsius. If you want it to be more well done, then you can leave it on the grill for longer. But remember, the longer you leave it on the grill, the drier it's going to get. And, of course, don't forget to flip the meat every once in a while so it cooks evenly. Also, if you see that the meat is cooking too fast and it's getting burned on the outside, but it's still raw inside, then move the meat to a colder part of the grill. Now let's get back to our cuts of meat. We need to cook them differently. First, let's talk about the asado recipe. To cook this cut of meat, we are going to use the indirect heat method. What does that mean? Well, instead of putting the meat on direct heat, we are going to put it on a part of the grill where there is no fire. To do that, we are going to move the fire to one side of the grill and put the meat on the other side. And here comes an important tip. To keep the heat going and cook the meat evenly, we are going to put some wood chips on top of the fire. That way the smoke and the heat from the fire will spread more evenly on the grill. Also, the wood chips will keep the heat going for longer. Now, let's talk about the other cut of meat that we are cooking today. The vacío. To cook this cut of meat, we are going to use the direct heat method. That means we are going to put the meat right over the fire. But before putting the meat on the grill, we are going to season it with salt and pepper. And here comes an important tip. If you want to add flavor to your meat, you can rub it with some herbs and spices before grilling. In Argentina, people usually use salt, pepper, oregano, and cumin. But if you want to add more flavor, you can use a dry rub. There are many different recipes for dry rubs, but today I am going to share with you my favorite one. To make this dry rub, you are going to need half a cup of fresh parsley, half a cup of fresh oregano, 1/4 cup of olive oil, 4 garlic cloves, 2 tablespoons of cumin, 2 tablespoons of paprika, 1 tablespoon of black pepper, and 1 tablespoon of salt. Put all these ingredients in a blender and blend until you get a smooth paste. Now take the paste and rub it all over the meat. And while the meat is resting, let's talk about the most important parts of an asado, the chimichurri sauce. To make the chimichurri sauce, you are going to need 1/2 cup of chopped fresh parsley, 1/4 cup of chopped fresh oregano, 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar, 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil, 2 minced garlic cloves, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Put all these ingredients in a bowl and mix them well. And here comes an important tip. If you want your sauce to be really tasty, let it rest for at least 30 minutes before serving. That way, the flavors will have time to blend and the sauce will be more flavorful. Now, let's check on our meat. The asado de tierra is almost ready. Now it's time to glaze it. To make the glaze, you are going to need 1/2 cup of beef broth, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon of honey, and 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic. Put all these ingredients in a saucepan and bring them to a boil. Once the sauce is boiling, reduce the heat to low and let it simmer for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, turn off the heat and brush the glaze over the meat. Now let's put the lid on and let the meat rest for 10 more minutes. While the asado de tierra is resting, let's finish the vacío. The vacío is already cooked, but now we need to make it crispy. To do that, we are going to increase the heat and sear the meat on both sides. Once the meat is seared on both sides, we are going to lower the heat and continue cooking the meat until it reaches an internal temperature of 71 degrees Celsius. When the meat is ready, take it off the grill and let it rest for 5 minutes before slicing. And here comes an important tip. Before slicing the meat, you can drain the excess fat by placing the meat on a cutting board and letting it drain for a few minutes. Then pat the meat dry with some paper towels. That way, your meat will be less greasy and your slices will look nicer. Finally, we can serve the asado. Remember that in Argentina, we always serve the meat with a nice chimichurri sauce on top. We usually serve the asado de tira with the sauce on top, and we serve the sliced with the sauce on top. Of course, we can serve the asado with many different side dishes like French fries, sweet potato fries, or baked potatoes. But today, we are going to serve the asado with a simple salad. So that was our recipe for today, an authentic asado from Argentina. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something new. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us a lot. Now, I want to know, what did you think about the recipe? Did you enjoy it? Would you make it again? And if you made any changes to the recipe, please let me know in the comments below. And finally, if you are watching this video from another country, please tell me, would you make this recipe in your own country? And if yes, what changes would you make to the recipe? I would love to read your comments. Thanks for watching and see you next time.